All right, guys, wrapping up from our recent game with the DeathGuard and the Wolrd Eaters. Final score, DeathGuard 97 to a Wolrd Eater 54. So we'll talk about a couple things with this.
Probably not the best choice of matchups for Wolrd Eaters in their debut. Obviously, it's kind of like, oh, it's close combat versus close combat. Should be awesome. But DeathGuard really have multiple ways to kind of shut down close combat armies. So it probably wasn't a good place for us to start with the Wolrd Eaters.
I knew that the fight first was going to be an issue going into this. Once you said you were bringing DeathGuard, I was already like, okay, this is going to be a problem with the fight first on the Plague Marines. And I knew that was going to be an issue going into them. I didn't expect to lose the entire Berserker squad. I do feel like in the early goings, I kind of tripped over a lot of things there. Like there might have been some plays that I could have made differently. And I look forward to reading in the comment section to see maybe there was some stuff I could have done differently with it. But like the Berserkers failing the charge on the Rhino, I would have preferred to have the Berserkers up there than the Exalted. But I needed that Rhino down. I needed the Rhino at least slowed down in the early goings as what I felt. And if I would have put the Berserkers in and lost the Berserker squad, I would have been more okay with it. To then have the 8-bound, the 6-man with Avocatus, be able to then move up there and take out the or go into that squad that was like a blender on the objective marker. Mm-hmm. With that being said, too, because of that squad being such a blender on the objective marker, I probably should have stayed back or just sent Angron in there by himself. Angron did much better at them, was able to hold out against them with his save and his feel no pain into those guys. So I think he would have been able to hold out better and could have probably taken them out. And it probably would have been a better holding. Just like slow down just a little bit and then push through. So I think that might have been a little bit of a play mistake there, but I really would have rather had the Berserkers charge the Rhino. And then I just kind of, playing Wolrd Eaters, always be charging, kept pushing. So that was one thing. And then honestly, just Angron made it back. And you guys didn't see, but in a moment of frustration, I then just picked up and kept rolling dice. I literally rolled 30 dice. Literally 30 dice and not a single 6. So not only was it the 16 wounds that were caused to Angron, caused to me myself. I felt his pain.
You were wounded.
I was wounded.
Your heart was wounded.
I didn't roll a single 6 in there. And it was literally because I died to the wound. So 1 6 out of any of that, Angron lives. And then can honestly, even though he would have been hurting, he could have slapped back and taken out the carnivore and left just the character there, or put a couple hits on the character, send 1 attack on the character for hopes and prayers and then smack the carnivore off the table. So I needed that. The secret mission I took was to have my warlord in taking your home field objective. So that was where I was going to try and do, is have Angron just clear everything back there. And I mean, if with those 2 guys gone, the cultists were taking down Angron. So that was the plan. That was what I was trying to go for. Obviously it didn't work out that way. That was I was definitely salty at that moment too, because it was like you look at it, you roll 16 dice, you're like, dude, I need 1 6. 1 6 and you live. And that was first fail the charge, then fail then fail every single feel no pain. It's like, oh, come on, game. Come on. I'm gonna lose, but come on, let me at least have some fun with it before I go down. So early goings, though, I did enjoy the Wolrd Eaters a lot. It's fun to just run in there and smack things. They're
so fast.
They're very fast. And just like randomly, you're like, oh, this like card, he's got all these attacks, and this guy's got all these attacks, and let's just keep chucking dice. And the Exalted 8-bound did great, obviously.
Strength 14 twin linked on the Sergeant is ludicrous.
Yeah, being able to pick up the carnivore was nice, and then picked up Typhus too. So they definitely did well. I mean, I know that I see a lot of competitive builds run more than just I'm running 3. Again, I'm building it different ways around it, which also is probably a reason of not going into DeathGuard right off rip for it. Should have played the Kroot.
The Kroot? No, not my precious Kroot.
They would have been a blender to the Kroot, I think.
Oh, yeah, you would have shredded them. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was definitely probably not the best, considering I have never played a game with Wolrd Eaters. So there was probably some tricks, tips, tactics, anything that people can give you, I'm more than happy to take. There's probably quite a few things I could have done differently with that.
I think in this case, you probably should have not charged in there turn 1, even though you could charge turn 1, because you just popped a couple rhinos, and then my my Plague Marines were able to get into. It might have been good to hold in the middle of the table for a little while until my Terminators come in, because you'd have more luck, because the Terminators don't have charge.
But look at this then. If your guys get out of the Rhinos, you move the Rhinos up, and now the Rhinos are on the objective. Your guys get out of the Rhinos, now your battle line OC2 units are on the objectives, and all of what we're doing is now fighting over the objectives. What I was trying to do is keep you back so that you weren't on those center objectives, and clear as much as I could before the Death Shrouds came in, because I knew that was going to be a struggle anyway across the map for me to get onto those Death Shrouds late in the game. So, especially with how many there were. So I was trying to pick up as much as I could, as quick as I could, so that when the Death Shrouds were there, any work I could do to get back to them, possibly, I could do, maybe with Angron or something like that. That was at least my thought behind it. Didn't play out that way.
Right.
Didn't play out that way because of that one unit and being just a blender and picking up literally 2 squads of Khorne Berserkers.
Yeah, it did really well. And we didn't show the dice, but my dice were actually not that great, and they still managed to blend through the Berserkers very quickly. So, yeah, they were real strong. I mean, a lot of AP2 damage stuff is strong into those T4 2-wound Marine bodies.
Yep. And I mean, the Death Shrouds, there wasn't much for them to do late in the game. They were able to clear out the home field objective because just being that 2-up save, there was nothing, even if they failed to kill my Jackals, there was no crackback to take them out. I mean, they could have seriously spent the entire rest of the game back there clearing off Jackals, and nothing would have happened.
Just wading through the Jackals.
Yeah, basically. And that was another thing, too, is something I probably got to look into, is making sure to spread that out to conserve those things, to be able to make, bait out, like you said, with the deep strikes. I held the back side of the table, but I didn't have the front. They didn't have anything protecting you from landing in front of me, and just cleared out the Jackals in that sense. So probably protecting that a bit, maybe not being so bloodlusty and just rushing in there. Maybe that would have been the way to do it, is like let you come out and start making your play and try and hit one side and just hit it with everything, because knowing I'm going to lose a squad of Berserkers to the Plague Marines, because the Plague Marines, even though they're toughness 5 and 2 wounds, versus a lot of the weapons I have, they die relatively fast. So it's just a matter of, okay, I'm going to lose a Berserker squad. I'm going to lose 10 Berserkers to your 10 Plague Marines. Need to keep it at that. So hindsight moving forward, especially with the fact that you are a combat army, I know that I can play a little more cagey. Just keep Karn off the table so he doesn't kill any of my guys, and kind of just maneuver around that a bit. So yeah, it probably was a little too much going in there right off rip. But first time playing World Eaters, I went first. Tried to go
fast, right? Ran across the table.
Yeah, was in your deployment zone on turn 1. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. But I definitely think when the inevitable rematch that I will be wishing for and demanding, I'll probably play a little further back on that, and let the game develop more before I start hitting things.
Right. You sure you want to rematch the DeathGuard? Do you want to play something? Oh,
nope.
Okay. All right.
But not right away. Not right away. Like as we were discussing.
Get some paint on them. They might do a little better. Get a little paint on them. That might help them.
Yeah. Also, that I didn't like the way they came up on camera. Like I thought getting the primer on them, I probably should have left them gray before this game, because I was looking at some of that stuff, and I do apologize. I noticed that when we started recording them, how it was kind of tough. That's why I recycled the one squad that I got red on them first, because I was like, oh, this is kind of rough. Well, that's how we see the progress. We have our before pictures and our after pictures. Yep. So you got the before look, and then we'll have the after look. And then when I get the red on them, get them their glory. That's the problem. That was the problem today. They're like, we're not ready for this. We brought us out the gate too soon. But no, you are planning to. So for the next couple videos, you're going to be bringing the DeathGuard, because you are planning for a team event. So this game, I don't think there's very much to say. I mean, what give us some feels? What are some feels out of that?
Well, I played DeathGuard into Drukhari, and similar thing happened where the Drukhari are super combat based, and they just bounced off the DeathGuard pretty quickly. So I know they can tank that, but I need to see what they do into gun lines and shooting armies. So if you want to bring something into these that's going to shoot them a whole lot, maybe some Grey Knights or maybe some Canoptic Court.
That's going to be next week. Is going to be the Grey Knights first. Because like you said, you're prepping for a tournament. I'm prepping to have 2 little babies here. So that's what our future entails. And for me, We're still clear on today, so tomorrow it's going to be Tuesday, and hopefully they all clear, and then I'm going to be having the twins here in that time frame.
Time for some babies.
So, yeah, and then so after when the babies are here, I'm going to be working on the World Eaters a lot. I have a Grey Knights list that I'm going to be hitting you with against the DeathGuard next week. After the last game we played, I noticed we discussed it a lot. It was once the point changes happened, it changed the dynamic for my Grey Knights a lot more than it seemed. Having that additional Dread Knight was the damage push to go over the top. And I do know that there's still some people running those five Dread Knight lists and still having heavy Dread Knights. But I feel like with this secondary game, that's a 4-in-1 list at best. And so I'm looking for the 5-0. I'm looking for what's the list that can take a GT. What's the list can win the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I got some pieces and parts I've been working on in there. I got some paint on them, but they're gonna hit the table as is because World Eaters are what I'm gonna be working on. And I'm curious to see what that'll do into this. I got 20 Terminators to your 12, so I got a couple more Terminators.
Some more Terminator bodies.
Yes. A little more objective control. You have to move into me a lot more. So there's a lot of ways I can trigger that Miss the Demos and be able to get off the field. So that's going to be a lot more of an interesting matchup. And it's an army, I know. I mean, I was serious. Like this was literally like I built this. I've looked at the book. I've looked at the rules for it. I had no idea what I was doing with a lot of it. I'm just like, go fast. And if you're not going fast, go faster.
Go forward.
Yeah. And that might not have been the best play. Like like you said, maybe waiting for the game to develop a little more, maybe hanging off to the corner, really holding down an objective and hitting one squad of Plague Marines as hard as I could, and losing one squad of Berserkers in the process, but ripping that squad off the table, guaranteed, taking the characters, taking everything out of it. And I mean, the Carnivores I was picking up, no problem. Those I wasn't having an issue with. Karn picked up a Carnivore by himself.
All by himself.
Literally.
Just slapped it.
So as far as you, though, this is but going back over to DeathGuard, since you're taking this in 3 weeks, you did, obviously, there's some units that are unpainted. So this is some stuff that you haven't run in the past. How did it feel running so Terminator heavy?
And this it was good because they were in good positions to score on their deep strike ability and the fact that they're very durable. If you're going to do something to them, you have to put a lot of effort into them. Even though I have three Carnivores on the list and 2 Rhinos, you still need to put anti-tank stuff into the Terminators to get them off of their 2-up save. And the fact that they're T6 and they're -1 to wound when led by a character. So I feel like they're good. My concern is just if I go into a more shooty army, if they're going to get me out of position or be out in the open and get shot too much, because I don't have that much shooting. I got a little bit of shooting, but yeah, that's really, and I guess it just comes down to being like a Custodes player making 4-up saves because the Terminators all have 4-up invuln. So if I just make a bunch of 4-up saves, we'll be all right. We'll be okay. And obviously in gun lines, if I can get into them, if I get that mobility and can rapid ingress in there and get into them and start tying up their their shooting ability some, that's a huge plus as well.
Well, I think that like you said, we have you have 3 weeks or 2 more games or 3 more games before you have to go. You'll have definitely the next
2 more, I think.
2 more
next week, the week after.
What I'm happy about is after we made some tweaks and stuff, I'm going to debut the new Grey Knights that I have planned and I'm messing with, and the Necrons. So you'll get to see the Canoptic Court into the DeathGuard as well, and we'll see how those list tweaks do as far as Pariah Nexus goes and seeing how those changes. Because I have made some changes to the Canoptic Court as well. So that I'm looking forward to, and that does have a lot of shooting still. Like the Doomstalkers themselves are very, very vicious into the Death Shroud Terminator, any Terminator for that matter. Yeah. Just because of the fact that they are flat 3 damage, so they can just pick up a Terminator. And with some of your squads having that ability to get, like the 6-man giving me blast, that's extra shots, and it's just one of those hits home and gets 5 or 6 shots, it can really hurt that squad, especially on the Overwatch. So the Doomstalkers are a big threat into those things. The Plague Marines, it'll be interesting to see what they do into the Wraiths. You don't really have a way to trigger into precision, do you?
No, I don't think so.
So there's not much of a way in there, but the Carnivores, that's, I think, where the carnivores are going to kind of shine more, not necessarily on the front lines, but being able to do actions and stuff, being that they're a battle line unit, being able to do secondaries, score the secondaries and stuff like that. I think that's where the carnivores are really going to shine, where other units are going to be struggling with the Wraith Wall and the shooting of the Doomstalkers. But we'll see. That's how I look into that. I'm more looking forward for the Grey Knights that we talked about, bringing 20 Terminators in fashions. Is going to be interesting. In fashions, they're all Terminators. We'll give a little hint. 10 of them are Terminators. 10 of them are Paladins. So that'll be interesting. I've been definitely very interested to see how that'll do, and especially how we discussed it when we were talking about with what the Paladins' role is and how they're going to function. And that's going to be something that's going to be really interesting and tough for your army to play around from that point, because I have a lot of weird things that it's able to do, and it's going to be a tough unit. So even with your fight first into there, they're still very, very durable.
Yeah.
And just nasty Terminators. And I mean, it's Grey Knights. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere.
Yeah. The Grey Knights have a tremendous amount of mobility, and other than my deep striking, my Terminators move 4 inches. So there's not much mobility. I got to make sure I position very well.
And still 2 Dread Knights. I have 2 Dread Knights in there. One's a Grandmaster, one's regular, but we'll preview that list next week. So, but yeah, how do you? Last thing I'm curious on with this is how you felt about the carnivores after this matchup.
I know they got wrecked, but at 140 points, I don't feel that bad when I lose one. And obviously, having something in the army that I could tank shock with, like being able to pour a bunch of mortals into Angron, was a big deal. So the combined grenade strat, and the first time I killed him was grenade strat. Typhus doing his mortals, and then tank shock gets me most of the way there.
How Angron should normally have to go.
Yeah.
Not, oops, I just happened to do this, and oh, look, I can do 16 damage to him. Oh, look, he's dead. Ha, ha,
ha. And the fact they have a 14-inch move means they can get out there and get on objectives. OC8, they can hold objectives, they can do actions, that sort of thing. So I like them. I think they're really, I'll probably keep them in the list just because they're so cheap, and so a lot of times my opponents will just focus on them. And if they kill 2 of them, that's only 280 points in my army. So I have a lot more army to go. So I like them. I think I'll keep them. I need some kind of speed too, because the Terminators, once they drop in, they are not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, that 4-inch move is, you suddenly realize how short that is real fast. So, all right, guys. Well, that's everything for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.